This story around the campfire is called the runaway model. Asha was a beautiful, slim woman with a golden essence and a walk that made her seem as if she was floating above the ground beneath her feet. She had only been in New York for 4 months, and her lack of bookings reflected it. While she did come chasing runway dreams, her emails were mostly catalog work and rejected DMs. She was at a rooftop outing with friends when Lucien Vale, the Lucien Vale, messaged her directly. She froze. Saw your profile. You have something rare. Interested in a private studio shoot tomorrow? Her friends, who were also aspiring models, were all filled with a mixture of awe, excitement, and jealousy. He was a mystery. No interviews, no direct photos, not even much of anything on his Wikipedia page. Just basic information, his name, his known work, and a speculated net worth. He was seemingly a ghost of the industry, his existence being just whispered stories and iconic photos. She snatched her phone from her friends and quickly replied, yes, without thinking. The next day at the shoot, it was quiet, almost spiritual. No assistance, no distractions, just Lucien and his lens. The backdrop, plain and white. He moved around her like he was painting, not shooting. Adjusting her chin, moving a strand of hair, studying her collarbone, all in silence. Click, click, click. It was an hours-long process, but Asha was gracious. Seeing him in person was intriguing, yet enigmatic. His hat low down on his eyes, his clothes smelling of cigarette smoke and a strong, expensive cologne. His touch, while aggressive and forceful, was soft and valiant. Then, with one last click, it was over. Asha's spirit slowly came down from the high of shooting with the man she and her friends would talk about as if he was a myth. Afterward, he poured them wine. You have a tragic kind of beauty, he said, like you've seen something you don't talk about. That's rare. She smiled, caught off guard. I don't smile in pictures much, she giggled. He leaned in slightly. You shouldn't. Your stillness is more powerful than joy, he said, with a still expression on his face. Something about the way he said it, the way he looked at her, made her shiver. Not in an infatuation kind of way, more eerie. With his wine glass in hand, Lucien stood and slowly walked across the room. I want to show you something, he said. It's personal, my private collection. No one else has seen it. He led her upstairs to a locked room. The doors were as high as the ceiling. Lucien pulls a key from his pocket and unlocks the door. It creaks loudly and slowly as he opens it. Inside, the wide room was softly lit. Velvet curtains lined the walls, and a thick, plum-colored carpet clung to the ground. Almost like a museum, lined up in elegant poses, were mannequins. At least 30. Some covered fully in a plastic tarp, others exposed. Each in different clothes, different poses, different skin tones, different expressions. They were all too authentic. Each pore, each eyelash, too specific, too detailed. Lucien walked between them reverently. "Every one of these women let me photograph them," he said. He caressed the cheek of a pale mannequin with long brown hair that flowed down her shoulders and back. "I study them, memorize them, then capture them forever," said Lucien. Asha froze. "They look real," she said nervously. "I don't just create art, I preserve beauty." "How do you make them so detailed?" He walked toward her, glass in hand. "There's no substitute for closeness, real proximity. I spend time with the model, learn her movements, her skin, her breath." He reached out and gently grabbed her hand. "Now, I want to make one of you." She slipped her hand away. His eyes didn't blink. "I want to preserve you and your essence for all the world to see, forever," said Lucien. "I want you to be one of my forever models." Asha slowly looked around the room. It finally clicked. The mannequins that stood all around them, frozen in time, were people. All models Lucien had worked with in the past. He grabbed her hand once more, softly caressing it with his thumb. "Beauty like yours deserves everlasting life, and I will give it to you. And I won't take no for an answer." Her body went ice cold. She looked into Lucien's dark, dead eyes, knowing that he was serious. She opened her mouth but choked on her words. Then, with all of her strength, she slammed the wine glass deep into his face. It shattered. He screamed. She ran, barefoot, out of the room and down the hall. The loft was a maze. At the end of the hall, she knocked over a marble bust, shattering it. Behind her, footsteps, fast, heavy. She burst into the bathroom, locking it. She held her breath as he pounded on the door. "You don't understand. You're already art," he yelled outside of the door, pulling aggressively on the handle. She found a window and tried opening it, but it wouldn't budge. Realizing she left her purse and phone in the studio, she knew she had no other choice. She opened the medicine cabinet, found a pair of metal scissors, and clutched them like a weapon. Shaking nervously, she backed up into the shower, scissors tight in hand, and waited. After 15 minutes of Lucien banging, screaming, and pulling on the door, silence. Asha stayed in the bathroom for over an hour, waiting for any sign that he may still be out there. But she heard nothing. No talking, no sounds of movement. The home had gone completely mute. She cracked the door open and peered out. The hallway was dark and empty. She moved slowly, tiptoeing on the loft's cold hardwood floors. She turned the corner and was aggressively met by Lucien as he tackled her. They crashed onto the floor, her head thumping hard against the unforgiving ground. With one of Lucien's arms wrapped around her body and the other grabbing for her hand that held the scissors, she stabbed blindly and mercilessly. She got his shoulder, his back, and his hand. He roared in pain. She crawled away, her legs now slick from blood, and the back of her head now wounded too. She ran through the nearest door and slammed it shut. She was now in the studio. She scrambled through light stands and cables. She kicked over a backdrop onto sprawled clothes, looking furiously for a phone to call the police. He chased her, stumbling now, growling through clenched teeth out of anger and pain. He crashed through the door. She gasped and threw a small light fixture at his head. He ducked, causing her to miss. "You're wasting your energy," he hissed. "You will be etched in permanence along with the others, whether you like it or not." She ran through another door. She made it to the stairs. She descended them, half falling. Her head was still bleeding, her vision fading, her wound throbbing with every step. She reached the front door. She grabbed the doorknob, twisting and pulling vigorously, but it wouldn't open. She looked and noticed it was deadbolted. She screamed, banging on the door, hoping a bystander would hear her cries. Lucien then slithered from the shadows, appearing right over her shoulder. He snatched a thick chunk of her hair in the back of her head, the blood from her fresh wound mixing with the blood from the gash on his hand, their fused red fluids oozing between his fingers. She whimpered, face showing a combination of fear and defeat as the tears fell, one after another. He slowly pulled her in close and whispered in her ear, "Don't fight the finish." He slammed her head, face first, into the door. Her body fell to the floor with a low thud. She was out cold. Lucien looked down at her body, mind filled with ideas on how he would dress his new canvas. With no word said, he bent down and grabbed her legs. Slowly and carefully, he dragged her body back into the bowels of his home.
2 months later, Lucien threw his grand showcase. Beauté Éternelle was labeled elegantly on the front of the building. Inside, the gallery buzzed with chatter. His many models, all frozen, holding abstract poses, scattered amongst the space like sculptures, each one flawless. The patrons were all dressed in the finest garb, sipping wine and viewing each model with distinct interest and intrigue. One wore a soft green dress, frozen mid-motion. She had soft, dark eyes with parted lips and skin that looked smooth to the touch. It was Asha. A group of young women approached and stood in awe. "She's perfect. It looks like she was caught mid-breath," one said. Lucien walked over, smiling politely with his hands behind his back. He stared deep into Asha's eyes. "This one was very special," he said elegantly. "Each of my forever models are inspired by a woman I've photographed," Lucien said smoothly. "I spend weeks studying their form, their motions, their essence. It's all an intimate process." The girls giggled, impressed and immersed in his charming demeanor. "Are you looking for any new models?" one asked. "We'd love to shoot with you." Lucien looked at each of the women, carefully scanning their frames. His eyes then locked on one of them. She was on the far left and hadn't spoke a word. She smiled at him like the others, her face showing innocence and hope. She was wearing a black dress and high heels with wine in hand. "You, 1 p.m., tomorrow, at this address," Lucien said, handing her a card. "Don't make me wait." "Yes, sir," she whispered. Lucien walked away, ominously disappearing into the crowd. She watched him leave, then looked over at Asha. She stood in front of her, filled with excitement and anxiousness at her newfound opportunity. She knew she was next.